If you own an S-Corp and you don't have it inside a trust, you could be setting your business up for a major disaster down the road. I've seen business owners work for years, build something great, but because they didn't structure things properly, their business got stuck in probate. They lost money. I've even seen people's businesses collapse after they were gone. Today, I'm breaking down exactly why your S-Corp should be owned by a trust. We'll bust myth, cover tax benefits, and show you step by step how to do this right. By the end, you'll know how to protect your business, minimize taxes, and make sure your hard-earned money stays in your family's hands. And if you're serious about taking action, go book a free discovery call at bristertaxlaw.com, and let's make sure your business is protected. I'm your host, Anthony Brister, and this is a wealth planning podcast with Brister Law. Now let's get started. So, why does a trust in your S-Corp, why does this matter? Well, let me tell you a quick story. A client of mine, let's call him John, he owned a successful construction company set up as an S-Corp. He was making around $500,000 net every year. He had employees depending on him. But one day, out of nowhere, he had a heart attack and he ended up passing away. His wife, who had never been involved in the business, just assumed that she'd be able to take over, but there was a problem. John never transferred ownership of his S-Corp to a trust. This meant that legally, she had no access to the business bank accounts. She couldn't pay the employees or even make those business decisions. Instead, everything was frozen in probate court, and it took 8 months before she was granted control. By that time, the business had lost major clients. She struggled with the payroll. Their employees left, and the business nearly collapsed. And the crazy thing is, this was 100% avoidable. If John had just owned his S-Corp inside a properly structured, revocable living trust, his wife would have been able to immediately step in and they could have avoided the court process entirely. So let's talk about why your S-Corp should be owned by a trust and how you can avoid John's mistake. So now we're just going to talk about some common myths about S-Corps and trust. I hear a lot of business owners say, I can't put my S-Corp in a trust because it'll raise my taxes. And that's just flat out wrong. So myth number 1 is a trust will mess up my S-Corp status. Not all trusts are the same. And if you set up a grantor trust, a type of revocable trust, it's totally fine under the IRS rules. And it's still treated for tax purposes as an S-Corp, which means that all the tax benefits do flow through to you. The second myth is, I don't need a trust because I have a will. Let me say this very clearly. A will does not protect you or your business from probate. Your business will go through court, get locked up in a lengthy process, and potentially lose value while your family waits through probate, and a trust can avoid all of that. Probate really is optional. The third myth is trusts are only for the rich. Trusts aren't just for billionaires or millionaires. They're for anyone who wants to keep control over their assets and avoid legal headaches. Myth number 4 is that I can't have a trust on my S-Corp because it'll raise my taxes. This isn't true. Like I said, it's a flow-through entity, so all the tax attributes flow through to you. If you ever believed one of those myths, let's break that mindset right now. Hit that follow button and keep listening for more. So just in case I wasn't clear before, let's talk about what type of trust should own your S-Corp. Now, not just any trust can own an S-Corp. There's actually a few qualifying ones that can own, and there's very specific rules you need to follow. So what's the best option for most people? Well, a revocable living trust is probably going to be the best option. This lets you retain control of your business while making sure ownership smoothly transitions if something happens to you, whether you pass away or become incapacitated. I had a client who set this up right away. He passed away unexpectedly, but his S-Corp was already inside his trust. So his successor trustee was able to step in immediately. No court delays, no problems. He even had a business succession plan inside of his trust where he determined who would take over the leadership role, where to locate critical business data, his vision for the company going forward, and what he wanted his legacy to be. So that business kept running without a hitch, and it's still running today. Imagine your family avoiding all the legal red tape. Schedule a call with us and make sure that your structure is airtight so you can have the same success. So what are your action steps? Well, first off, we really need to transfer your trust, or your S-Corp rather, into your trust. So how do you actually transfer your S-Corp into the trust? Well, here's a simple breakdown. First, you want to set up the right trust, right? So we want a revocable living trust, generally speaking. Second up, we want to amend your stock certificates or your membership unit certificates to reflect that your trust actually owns this now. Then we want to update your company documents, your operating agreement, and bylaws all need to be updated. And then we want to maintain those proper records as we're going forward too. If you want some help implementing this for your business, book a strategy session now at bristertaxlaw.com. So here's the bottom line. If you own an S-Corp and you don't have a trust, you're risking everything you built. The courts don't care how hard you've worked. If you don't have the right legal structure, they'll decide what happens to your business. I want you to think about this. Do you really want your family stuck in a court battle when you're gone? Or do you want them to have a seamless transition and keep growing your legacy? If you've gotten value from this, please share this episode with a fellow business owner. And if you're ready to take action, go visit bristertaxlaw.com to get started. My name's Anthony Brister, and this is the Wealth Planning Podcast. Thank you for listening.